Here we go. Woo! 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 Gonna mute some of these mics for our evil Facebook overlords.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Brady is back. Good morning, Steve Duraco.
Now, Chris Duel.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, and praise be to the football gods on high, who once again have showered us with blessings and joy and goodness. I would call it the second coming of Tom Brady, but it's really kind of the third coming of Tom Brady. New England, Tampa Bay, and now Tampa Bay again. Just when you thought Tom Brady was done, he should have done this on Easter. It's kind of like a resurrection theme. He should have maybe made that, but I'm happy. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok, your Soundscape Stylist. Where do we begin? So many huge stories all weekend long. Coach Gregory Charles Popovich is the king of the hill, top of the heap, upon the top of the pyramid. He does it on Friday night against Utah. He didn't do it against the Indiana Pacers, although Indiana beat him the next night, but I don't care about that because Pop's got the record. The NCAA brackets are here. Just story after story after story all weekend long. Oh, my gosh. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. First of all, you know me. I love me some Tom Brady. I totally flipped once he turned 40. Brady wanted to play until 45. He will now play in the National Football League at age 45. I can see the joy and the elation on your face as Tom Brady is back.
I'm annoyed, Chris. I really like. I thought our QB pettiness was all behind us, right? The whole Aaron Rodgers finally gets his deal, and then Russell Wilson steals his thunder. So Aaron Rodgers is like, well, wait a second, I haven't actually signed a deal. And then we move into the weekend, and there's plenty of college basketball and stories coming out of that. That's what I expected us to get into this morning, just straight into the madness in the tournament. And Tom Brady, I mean, almost on cue. He was like, what time does the Selection Sunday show start? Okay, that's when we'll make the announcement. It was either that or his PR people were like, hey, Tom, the weekend's coming to an end. If you want to be the first run on all of the news cycles tomorrow, we've got to do this now. We've got to release a statement. We've got to say something. And it's almost like Tom Brady, it was announced that he was retiring before he made the announcement. And then he makes the announcement. And so it's a little lackluster. It's almost like he ended up saying, yeah, I'm retiring, just so he can come back 2 months later and post pictures of him during a game with the Tampa offense, and then a picture of his family wearing his jerseys. You see Brady on the back in the statement. These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still on the field and not in the stands. That time will come, but it's not now. I love my teammates, and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa.
Yes.
Unfinished business, LFG.
Woo!
Welcome
LFG,
back, Tom,
everybody.
I guess.
Woo!
Like, we didn't even have time to change the bedclothes. We didn't even have time to bring in the new towels and to get ready for the next one.
I love it. I'm so happy. Christmas came early. Christmas came on March 13th. Wow. I got to check in with Jeremy Kolok. Jeremy, you're a sports fan and a football purist. You know that more football is good football. I believe applying the transitive property to more football is good football. I think we can say more Brady is good Brady because Tom Brady is football. How do you feel?
I'm with Shannon on this.
Wow.
Tom hijacked the news cycle. He hijacked the talking points this morning. It was supposed to be Greg Popovich. It was supposed to be March Madness. He can't stay out of it. He can't stay out of the game. He can't stay out of our talking points and our minds. And yeah, the timing is what got me. But all more Brady is good Brady, I guess. I mean, when football season comes back around, I feel like I will definitely be happier to have him than not, rather than not have him. But yeah, just the timing, man. This is
Wow.
supposed to be March Madness.
I am elated, and you two are just like wet rags. I hope I'm not doing the show with you when the actual second coming happens. When that is like, well, it was supposed to be the World Series. Why'd he come back? Why'd he come back now? I mean, come on. I mean, I got stuff to do. I'm very special, and I got things to do myself. So, the Lord came back. Why'd he pick it on his time?
Well,
wow. I'm stunned. I'm stunned by the lack of realization or appreciation that, this is like Hank Aaron coming back. This is like Babe Ruth coming. This is the freaking GOAT, man.
He never left.
Whatever.
We haven't played without him yet. He never really left.
You were sure he wasn't coming back.
I
asked you
was,
many times.
and I
Is he
was
coming
happy
back?
about it.
Nope, he's not.
Listen,
No, he's not.
I think I'd be a little in maybe a less salty mood if this hadn't happened on the day that we sprung forward, on the day that I'm trying to still get myself together. I'm trying to get myself together this morning, because all I can think about is how I had to get up an hour earlier than usual this morning, and I couldn't go to sleep last night.
Sitting out,
and I just Tom Brady
yesterday having a beer, watching the sun go down at 7:34 p.m. and it was beautiful. And then Brady comes back. Spring has begun. We got daylight longer as we should, as God intended. Summer's on the way. Our long national nightmare is over. It's been a long, cold, lonely winter, and it's a beautiful thing. And Jeremy, to your point, yes, Tom Brady comes back. I don't think he's it's just one more great story. Yes, we've got March Madness. Yes, we've got the brackets. Yes, we'll dive into them. Yes, Greg Popovich. Since we were last here, Friday night was Pop's big night. We've got some great audio from Greg Popovich that we'll play for you a little bit later. But and all of a sudden, Shannon, I'm sure you've seen the odds for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All of a sudden, they were an afterthought. They're going to have to rebuild. Forget about them. Now that Tom Brady's there, suddenly they're a Super Bowl contender again. Or are they? And we kind of made that our poll question this morning as to what does this now do? How deep can Tom Brady take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Shannon, do you have the poll question in front of you yet?
I do, sir. Asking how far will Tom Brady lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this coming season? So far, and it is early in today's poll, but no one is saying a Super Bowl championship will come to them. 80% saying a deep playoff run, 20% saying an early playoff exit. Also, no one's saying that they're just going to miss the playoffs completely. So we will have playoff Tom, but doesn't look like people expect him to win a Super Bowl.
Well, the reason nobody's voted for Tom Brady will win the Super Bowl yet is because I haven't voted yet. That as soon as I get to, he's Tom Brady. The storybook finish that he was going to engineer last year, and he brought the Buccaneers back against the Rams, and the Bucs couldn't play defense, and you let Matthew Stafford chunk a long ball to Cooper Kupp, which you should have never done. Shannon, I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should have beaten the Rams. Didn't have. Brady did everything he could. Brady played very, very well and brought them back in that game. I believe Jimmy Garoppolo and San Francisco coming to Tampa Bay for the NFC Championship game. Buccaneers would have won that, and Brady would have been laser focused to beat Jimmy Garoppolo, his nemesis, back at New England. Then it would have been Joe Burrow and the Bengals against Tom Brady and the Bucs, which would have been a delicious Super Bowl. the GOAT versus the future GOAT, the young gun, new kid on the block, the new young stud everybody's loving. And just like the Rams did, I think Tampa Bay would have won that one, and Tom Brady would have ridden off into the sunset with a ring on with 2 in a row. And I just think, it took 40 days, and that's kind of biblical. We were talking about biblical things earlier. It's been 40 days and 40 nights since Tom Brady announced his retirement. So it lasted 40 days and 40 nights. I don't bet against Brady. I think, and I'm going to go vote in our poll, Shannon, he's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. He gets what he wants in a rare event. Last year in the playoffs, the defense faltered. Matthew Stafford threw long, and the Rams were able to beat the Buccaneers. I think Tom Brady comes back, and if you're the Glazer family, owners of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you're Bruce Arians, I think you take a page from the LA Rams now, and you go all in. You trade away any draft picks you need to trade away to get the talent you want to surround Tom Brady and make yourselves a Super Bowl contender again. I believe on this morning, the day before the Ides of March, on this March 14th, I believe Tom Brady's going to lead them to the Super Bowl, and he's going to win it, and that's going to be it.
See,
mark the tape, even though it's not tape.
There you go.
It's digital.
As far as our poll is concerned, I personally selected deep playoff run with the intention to see Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. Given the landscape of the NFC, I think his path to the Super Bowl is as easy as it was even last year. That game against the Rams was a great comeback by the Bucs, and then the defense just ultimately dropped it for him. But right now, that AFC, who's he going to have to get through once he gets to that Super Bowl? Because the Burrows and the Mahomes and the Allens are going to have a lot to say about it. And I don't expect Denver to all of a sudden be a turnaround team with Russell Wilson, but there's a lot standing in his way once he does get himself back to another Super Bowl. But you have to think that what went down last week with the quarterback situation and what we've seen happen to Kyler Murray and the potential drop off the Rams will have with all of those free agents that they're probably not going to be able to re-sign, that he saw the light too to get back to the Super Bowl. And he's got 7 rings. If he gets 8, that's one for every finger. Take that one off the thumb, put them on every finger, and now you're complete. You're whole.
And I gotta believe, and we don't know, and I'm speculating, but I'm speculating with a lot of things we do know. That photo, Shannon, as you described from Tom Brady's tweet, half of it was him with the Bucs, half of it was his family walking wearing Tom Brady number 12 Tampa Bay Buccaneers jerseys. I think a couple of things happened in the last 40 days. I think one of the reasons he retired was Giselle, his wife, and his kids. I think she wanted him to be with the family. I think he wanted to be with the family. And I believe over those 40 days, number one, what we saw happen to Brett Favre, and we see happen to a lot of athletes who retire, but it's so hard to walk away from the game when you're so good at it, when you've done it all your life. It's hard to end it all, and especially after the season that Tom Brady had last year. I think that happened, and I think his wife and his kids, and obviously I think Giselle's the decision maker on this, realized how much he longed to do this one more time, how much this was in his blood. I think if Giselle and the kids didn't sign off on this, it wouldn't happen. I think he's a good man and a good husband and a good dad, and I think he was ready to retire if he had to, and if that's what they really, really wanted. And I think they know him better than anyone else. I think they probably saw that it was killing him to have to walk away from this game when he really wanted to play some more. So I think all of that came together, and here we are.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, go ahead.
Well, a lot of people have been joking this morning and will probably continue to joke about, oh, he was home with the family for 2 months and he just couldn't handle it. They went on that vacation, and instead of going out practicing, he had to spend all that family time. I think you're right. I think he's just not ready. We look at how great he played last season, Father Time undefeated, but it hasn't caught up to Tom Brady yet. He's still at the top of the standings in so many different stat lines. It's not like he's hit that mark yet. And why not continue playing if you're able to, and if that's something that you and your family are okay with? And I think ultimately that's what was decided.
Man, there's so much to cover between now and 9 o'clock, and we will. The Greg Popovich milestone happened on Friday night. We will talk about that. We will react to that. We've got Pop's audio. Once again, Pop, I posted, among other things, and it's so true, an officer and a gentleman, which he is. Just in his post-game comments, so humble, so deferential, so grateful to the people who gave him opportunities, like Don Nelson and Larry Brown and all of his players and all of his staff. Like Tom Brady, I think you need to savor every moment of Greg Popovich that you have. Because like Tom Brady, Greg Popovich is the GOAT as well in his arena. And he is a rare, like Tim Duncan, he's a rare breed. There's nobody else like Pop. There's never going to be another guy like Pop. And for the moment, you've still got him. And enjoy. Brackets. My God. NCAA, we know what the brackets are. We've got big announcements involving brackets that you can participate in and compete against us for bragging rights and mockery and humiliation, all of that. Lots going on. Join us on the live video feed. If you want to comment on Brady, on brackets, on Pop, go to the all-free iHeartRadio app. Tune into AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. There's a red microphone button. You punch that, you can send us a message instantly. We'll play that on the air. Coming up, the high five play of the day involving another huge story that we haven't even mentioned yet in the world of sports this weekend. Somebody's getting a high five, deservedly, and more. Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays. You want to sound off on the phone lines? We love that as well. 800-707-9760. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok making the show go. Tom Brady is back. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. What is up, Taro Kotani? Well, and Luisa, God love you and I love you, but man, the cynicism, the negativity and the cynicism by you, by Shannon, by Jeremy. Wow. Tom Brady brings this out in people by being great, by being a good guy, by continuing to follow his dreams and follow his bliss. All right. I guess I'm in the minority here, celebrating the return of the GOAT. Where did I see Taro here? Hey, Taro. Taro, my God, I saw, first of all, Taro, as you know, I love it that the Spurs won it on Friday night. Most people in here will know Taro was leaving Saturday morning to go back to Japan no matter what. He couldn't wait for Saturday night against the Pacers. And as it turned out, I sure didn't expect the Pacers to win that one. So I'm so happy, Taro. What a trip for you, man. So many things happened that were wonderful for you, and I'm so happy for you. And I saw the Sean Elliott photos this morning. I didn't even know you had a moment to have a conversation with Sean Elliott and show him the photo when you met him all those years ago when you were a kid. Just incredible. Just incredible. I'm so happy. I mean, I'm sure your 17th trip was your best, just based on everything I saw. You even played basketball on the court at the AT&T Center and made I saw that one shot you made. It was either top of the key or a three-point shot, which was so cool. Yeah, I am super excited for Tom Brady too. It's a great storyline. He's great for football. Even the people who hate him. Antagonists are good for sports. So You know, I mean, all these years I didn't like the Golden State Warriors. I sick of Draymond Green and when Kevin Durant went there and Steph Curry and but they were great. And in my sports world, I didn't like them because I'm a Spurs fan, and the Spurs were still relevant as far as playoffs and a chance to go to the finals when the Golden State Warriors ascended. So, man, I am having all kinds of. Let me try this one more time. I can't log into my work email for some reason. Let's try that again. Oh, and I got to find this pop audio. Yep, there it is. Okay. Please work for me. I can't get into my email, 746-588. Finally, I think I'm in. Okay, I'm going to go get some coffee. And I'll be right back. All right, there's that. That's a beautiful thing. Lucinda Sullivan, good morning. See, who do I see in here? I see Steve Duraco, Tracy Bogert, Hector Gomez, John Williams, Eric Winchester, Jerry Lauder, Robert Browning, Amber, Foamfoot 420, Haas Holding, Luisa Alanis, who hates Tom Brady, Carl Fisher, Jason Paniagua, I think I said John Williams, Taro Kotani, Lucinda Sullivan, Sam Tobias. It's Christmas for me. I'm so excited. Tom Brady's coming back. All right. I'll be back in a sec, grabbing some coffee.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe. Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors with ultra-thick pads that trap the mock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day,
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
Good morning, Beth Settle. We can't find Bartlett was supposed to edit that pop cut, and he did, but we can't find it. I got to text Michael Bartlett.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
We are Electric Avenue. We will take you higher. Jeremy Kolok, how do you know that song exists? It rocks. Welcome. Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. It's not the second coming of Brady. It's the third coming of Tom Brady. We've got March Madness. We've got brackets. We've got Coach Pop getting the record. We've got we got baseball, free agency signings. We got a gazillion sports story. Madness. We've got brackets. We've got Coach Pop getting the record. Thanks for hanging out with us. So many ways you can be a part of the show. You can join us on the live video feed via Facebook Live, Twitter, or YouTube. Multiple ways to be there. You're not only interacting with us, but with a worldwide audience. I noticed Taro Kotani is in there, back to Tokyo, his home, after a whirlwind trip in San Antonio. And that was one of the cool things about the Spurs winning it Friday night. Our good friend Taro had to fly back to Tokyo first thing Saturday morning. That was the last game he could see Pop get that record. He saw it. That was cool. One of the cool sidelights of that game. Also, we're crystal clear on the all-free iHeartRadio app, and you can talk back to us instantly. Bottom of that screen, if you go to Ticket 760 or AM 1300 The Zone on the iHeartRadio app, there's a red microphone button, so you can talk to us instantly. We get it instantly, no waiting. We'll hear it. We'll probably play it on the air. And you can dial us up on the phone lines. You want to talk Brady? You want to talk brackets? You want to talk tournament? You want to talk baseball? You want to talk pop? Dial us up, 800-707-9760. 800-707-9760. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, about to deliver unto us the high five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five. 2 locations in the Austin area. You can watch all the tournament action, watch NBA, watch all the Tom Brady reaction. Shannon, you are our resident High Five expert. What will the people find at High Five?
Well, plenty of activities out there at either High Five location, Lakeway or Central Austin on Anderson Lane. Of course, axe throwing we discussed Friday. They now have kind of a virtual version of axe throwing where you still physically throw axes and try to stick them onto the wooden board, but they have different variations, so different targets, different ways you can play that game, as well as bowling and any arcade games and golf and all of the things, plus great food and great beverages. Chris, there's plenty of college basketball action over the weekend for both the men's and women's fields. It was championship weekend as everyone was trying for the last chance effort to make it to March Madness, trying to show that they were worthy of a spot. Texas A&M had a great run in the SEC tournament, only to lose to Rick Barnes and Tennessee and ultimately not get a bid for March Madness. But this isn't about them. It's about the Horns. And it's about the Lady Longhorns, as they not only beat Baylor big time over the weekend, 68-58, I do believe was the final, or sorry, 67-58. Texas beat Baylor, Kim Mulkey-less Baylor, to win the Big 12 tournament this weekend. And with that, they secured a number 2 seed in the tournament. They will get to host this week, number 15 Fairfield, on Friday. But Chris, I think the big headline here, because this Texas women's team deserves all the high fives for what they've done so far this season, but there's a chance that they will make a really great run. And if they have a great enough run to make it to the Sweet 16, it is a very likely chance, because a lot of people are going to say, well, listen, they beat a Kim Mulkey-less Baylor. They don't have Kim Mulkey anymore. They're just not the same. They don't have that extra umph. You know, they were never able to get over the Kim Mulkey hump. Now that she's gone, okay, that's a little different. Let's put an asterisk on that tourney win. But they will face Kim Mulkey and LSU in the Sweet 16 should they get there, because LSU looks like they'll have a nice ride to get there as well. So that is, I would hope, if they don't go any further, that they at least get the chance to take on Kim Mulkey and her new team, so they can get a high five for that as well. The men, by the way, they were placed as number 6 seed and will play number 11 seeded Virginia Tech, who, by the way, won their conference tournament against Duke and Coach K over the weekend. That game will take place Friday at 3:30. So they're not going to start the tournament action on Thursday when everything gets going. They won't be a part of day 1 bracket busting, but they will be a part of day 2. By the way, brackets, while we're on the high five, while we're on the tournament, the Chris Duel Show, if you want to join us via the CBS Sports page. We've got a link available for you on our socials. We'll also get it on our blog page. You just search the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and we'll pop right up and play along. Let's bust our brackets together, because misery loves company.
Yes. First of all, I'm with you totally on the high five. How cool. What a great triumph over the weekend for the Texas Longhorns women's basketball team. Would be so cool to go beat Kim Mulkey down the line. And how great to see just how far both the men and the women can go in these respective tournaments. And as I'm looking at the men's tournament in the bracket right now, Shannon, and we'll talk more about our bracket challenge here in a sec. Texas in that East Regional, where the number 1 seed is Baylor. Once again, we're talking about Baylor. So if Texas, theoretically, if Texas just kept advancing to get out of that regional, they might have to face Baylor if they keep winning. So that's kind of a cool. Now, Kentucky, if you did that, Kentucky's on their side of the Eastern Regional bracket at number 2. So, if chalk holds out in the East, it would ultimately be Baylor number 1 versus Kentucky number 2 for a right to go to the Final Four. But it's that time of year where we're looking at this stuff. It's so much fun. It's way cool.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to fill out my bracket. You know, it's not too shabby that the madness is going to start on Thursday, which is St. Patrick's Day. So if anyone needed an excuse already to drink beer and hang out and watch some TV, you've got it all right here in front of you this Thursday.
Now, we got to come up with something. Now, I know you just put it out on the live chat. And again, we'll direct people. You can find that link via our social media, and we're putting it out all over the place so that we can compete against one another. Shannon, we got to come up with, and we have time. We'll work on it. But whoever defeats us, whichever of our listener/viewers wins in our bracket challenge, we need to start contributing to some sort of a prize package. We need to figure something out. Yeah, bragging rights are great. I mainly do it for bragging rights myself, but we got to come up with something.
Yeah, I don't know what. Where's our promotions department?
I don't know what either.
Where are they?
No, we'll talk to promotions. We'll see if there's any restaurants involved or any kind of stuff laying around that we can do. As we look at the brackets now, Shannon, you mentioned Texas at number 6, the number 1 overall seed, Gonzaga. No shock there. It seems like they have turned into a perennial powerhouse. Your other number 1 seeds, Arizona, always right there. Kansas, no shock there. Baylor as well. You got to like, Shannon, that of the number 1 seeds, 2 of them from the Big 12. Of course, certainly would be nice if one of them were Texas, but again, just showing you the power of the Big 12 and what a conference it is for basketball. The fact that Baylor and Kansas become number 1 seeds, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it just goes to show how great the Big 12 is when it comes to that. I know we talk a lot about the other blue bloods of the Dukes and the UNCs and all of those that kind of come out of the weeds when it is March Madness time. But the Big 12, they're current reigning champs, and they always send a good amount of teams to the tournament. I mean, the odds are in their favor, sir.
All right. Nothing like talking, typing, and doing radio at the same time. It's such a beautiful thing. So many things went on over the weekend. Tom Brady, we talked a lot of Tom Brady. We'll talk more Tom Brady coming up. The brackets, we'll get into that. We now know the matchups. And, of course, Friday night, Coach Greg Popovich becomes the best, the greatest, the GOAT. We already knew he already had the record of regular season plus playoffs. But just to make it absolutely official, he passes Don Nelson on Friday night with a tremendous win over the Utah Jazz, 104-102. Spurs came from 15 back in the fourth quarter against a very good Utah Jazz team. They would not be denied. And then we talked a lot about this for the last several weeks. Would there be a celebration? And indeed there was. The players gathering around Coach Greg Popovich, celebrating, encircling him on the court, led by the first guy to grab him was Jakob Poeltl. And then Pop just kind of pushed his way out of, in kind of mock anger, pushed his way out of that circle and made his way to the tunnel. But if you look closely at the video, before Pop made his way to the tunnel, there was David Robinson, the Admiral, wanting to hug Pop there on the court, which he did. They get to the locker room. Most of us have seen that video. DeJounte Murray, the leader of this team as a player, presents Pop with the game ball and congratulates him. And then the players just surround Pop, douse him with water. When you first look at that video, you go, wow, is that champagne? It was actually water. And Pop immediately says, all right, we're going to have a shoot around tomorrow. We're going to run suicides, which was hilarious. And then in postgame. Pop just so humble, thanking everybody he could think of, certainly thanking the two coaches that gave him a job, Larry Brown and Don Nelson. And as Pop pointed out, in 1992, Don Nelson hired Greg Popovich as an assistant coach when Pop did not have a job. And in the words of Coach Greg Popovich, he said, Don Nelson saved my family's ass back in 1992. He had a wife and kids. He had devoted himself, Air Force Academy graduate, got out of the Air Force, pursued this coaching career at little Division III Pomona Fitzer College in Pomona/Pasadena, California. And he was doing well, but he was a Division III coach and certainly nowhere near the income that he would once make. Shannon, it is just kind of interesting. And he even said it is ironic. And he said surreal and weird that he would be sitting there with more wins than Don Nelson, as it was Don Nelson who gave him a job when he needed one all those years ago.
It's an incredible story, and what's so great is it's a story that's not yet complete. Now that he does have that title, he can continue to extend it with this young Spurs team, and for however long he decides to remain head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. And we talked about it going into the game over the weekend of what would happen when that game was won, when that game was finally won for Coach Pop. From what I saw, Chris, and you may know a little bit more, players and fans who were in attendance were quick to celebrate with Coach Pop, but it wasn't until they got into the locker room that the celebration really started. And I was happy to see, you sent me some photos and some videos from inside the locker room. I was happy to see that Pop was genuinely happy, right? Because I kind of pictured that if there was a celebration, that it would be like popping champagne bottles and him just kind of making grumpy old man face, like, oh, now I have to shower, right? Like I already had to shower, but now I have to shower because I'm sticky. It looked like everyone was genuinely enjoying and celebrating in that moment.
It was so cool. It was just a tremendous moment. I do want to have you mention, Shannon, you've got the details, something more Pop, more Brady, more tournament talk coming up, and a lot more. But we got a really cool thing, a cool giveaway coming in the 8 o'clock hour. Tell the people about that.
Yes, NASCAR returning to Austin March 25th through 27th to take on Circuit of the Americas, the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix, and all this week. Crystal Show, we have your chance to win tickets. All you got to do is make sure you're listening during the 8 o'clock hour. You'll hear a keyword very similar to the cash contest. You'll hear a keyword, and you'll take that keyword over to Ticket 760 or AM13onthezone.com to enter said keyword for your shot at tickets to race weekend. And it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be Midland performances before the race, post party at the amphitheater. And if you haven't been out to Circuit of the Americas and you're able to get tickets to this, I highly recommend it. It is quite the experience and quite the atmosphere.
Very, very cool. That's coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll continue to remind you, my gosh, so much going on in the world of sports on Electric Avenue. We've got Tom Brady talk. Tom Brady is back, baby. Christmas comes early for a lot of us. We've got Pop. We just talked Pop. We'll hear from Pop coming up. We've got bracket talk, baseball free agency. What about Correa? We are all over it until 9 o'clock. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok making the show go with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right. I know we've got some technical issues with some kind of static, so we're going to go look for the boss man here. See if we can try to get that fixed. Let's see.
kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe. Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors. Ultra thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day.
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
My leg was painful, red, and swollen just due to the monster. I could have put up telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
He told his doctor and found out his leg pain, swelling, and redness are deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot which could travel to the lungs and lead to a pulmonary embolism, which could cause chest pain or discomfort or difficulty breathing and be deadly. If you have one or more of these symptoms, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
All right.
You fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Be ready for all situations with Armed Forces Supply, the largest military.
So we've got technical issues on the let me know on the video feed here. Jason, I see that you hear static. Are you hearing that static on YouTube? Are you hearing that static? I see you said the song because of the static. Are you listening over the air? Are you listening on YouTube? Are you listening on AM 1300 The Zone? And for everybody else, is there static in here on this? We're trying to troubleshoot that. The static is only when you are on the air. So is it on YouTube when we're on the air? That's so weird. Yeah, and to let you know, I can't find, and I texted Bartlett, I can't find in the Spurs file, nor can Tim Merriman at OAI, Bartlett's edited Greg Popovich comments. The whole thing is like 6+. We played it on Saturday night. He cut it down to 236, and it's exceptional. And he told me, and he even wrote it down for me specifically where it would be located, and it's not there. I've texted him. Tim wants it for OAI. I want it for this. So I'm going to keep looking. We played it during pregame. That was a 6:30 pregame, 7:00 start. Okay. Wow. That's a great idea. If you find it, let me know, because I'll let Tim know. Or you let Tim know. All right. Try looking for this one more time. It's not there. That's not it.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that more dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air.
Thanks, James. Thanks for the info. We're working on it. Gabe Quintanilla, welcome in. Thank you, Sam. Sorry about the static. We're working on it.
Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
Static is better than the echo. Thanks, Sam. In a perfect world, we don't have either. Nothing like technical difficulties on a Monday. Wow, oh, you rock. So how'd you find it? And is it about 236? You're amazing. Wow, that is so cool. Yeah, I think so. Okay. I don't know if you hear this, Shannon, but we got the pop audio. Okay, cool. Thank you. Here we come. We should give you a medal on that one, man. That was brilliant on your part. Thank you. Let's see. Maybe if I mute my microphone, the static won't happen. Here we come. Sorry about the static. We got people trying to work on it. There you go. Louis said it is a manic Monday.
Now, Chris Duel.
Oh, my goodness. Christmas comes early for some of us. I'm so giddy about Tom Brady coming out of retirement after 40 days and 40 nights on a weekend that Coach Gregory Charles Popovich achieves the record for most wins in NBA history. In this case, the regular season. He already had regular season plus playoffs. In a moment, we'll listen to Coach Greg Popovich's post-game comments. You've got Selection Sunday yesterday for the men's tournament, for the women's tournament. Shannon talked about the success. We gave a high five to the Texas Longhorns women's basketball team. I see people commenting here in San Antonio. San Antonio FC won their opener in soccer. I saw Mike Taylor and the Big Puma and company were there at that game at Toyota Field. And Shannon, how did Austin FC do on their road venture after the big 2-0 start with 10 goals in the first two matches before they went on the road this weekend?
Yeah, they had a late one Saturday night, 9:00 start against Portland, the Portland Timbers in Portland, which is part of the reason for the late start. And they hung in there. It was 0-0 for most of the game until the 82nd minute. Portland snuck on in there and ultimately handed Austin FC their first loss of the season. But there's still a lot to look forward to. They're 2-1 on the year. And again, Portland, a great team. And for them to be able to hang for as long as they did, they nearly got away with a draw on that one. But they'll look to the next game to get things back on track.
Yeah, I think, Shannon, and you're a huge Austin FC fan, if someone would have said to you, will you take a 2-1 start, and in two of those games, Austin FC will score 10 goals, I think you would have said, yeah, just give me that right now.
All day.
I'll take that.
All day.
That's cool. Yeah, all day. Well, we talked about it, and we'll dive back into the Tom Brady thing here in a bit. Shannon, before we do that, though, I see that you have pointed out we've already got people joining us, and we just dropped the link. But let's go ahead and promote that again. Let's promote two things right now. We are having our own bracket challenge where you can compete against Shannon, Jeremy, and me with a prize to be determined. We'll come up with something one way or another. Maybe a pie to Jeremy's face. Maybe we'll give you the opportunity to come to the station and I don't know, something like maybe a pie in my face. You'd rather do that. So Shannon, tell the people how they can join in the bracket challenge, and then we've got a big NASCAR opportunity for people coming up in the 8:00 hour.
Yes, the madness begins Thursday with the official 64 teams. I know there's a couple games prior to with the last four in, but Chris Duel Show has its bracket challenge up and ready for you to enter. We're using CBS, which is the official station for the March Madness tournament. So it only makes sense. You can find the link to that on our Twitter pages, and I'm working to get it up on the Chris Duel Show blog page as well on both station websites. Or you can just do it the old-fashioned way. Search us, the CBS website, the bracket challenge, and then search the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty Sweeney. And don't forget the Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. We're already getting some messages this morning. We'll play some of those for you later. Chris mentioned NASCAR, and NASCAR racing back to Austin. Once again, they had such a great time last time. They're back at COTA at the end of this month, March 25th through 27th, 3 days of racing action, and they're giving you more. They're giving more access, more music, more everything, more great Austin eats, which are a huge part out there at Circuit of the Americas. All you got to do is make sure you're listening to the Chris Duel Show all this week. During the 8:00 hour, you will hear a keyword. You'll take that keyword over to either Ticket 760 or AM1300zone.com and enter to win. Again, that's not tickets to one day. That's tickets to all the days of NASCAR action, March 25th through 27th.
All right. We'll talk more Tom Brady. We talked a lot of Tom Brady in the 6:00 hour. Tom Brady is coming back. He made that announcement yesterday, as Shannon mentioned, about the same time as the seeding for the March Madness men's and women's tournaments dropped. I am thrilled and giddy. Shannon and Jeremy, not so much. And I'm seeing some of our viewers on the live video feed, Jesse Bratton, Luisa Alanis, not feeling the love for Tom Brady's return to the NFL. So we'll talk a lot more about that. But we're going to listen to Greg Popovich's comments here in a moment. And Shannon, I remember a friend of mine, Richard Oliver, who was a longtime San Antonio Express News sports writer. He wrote for either the New York Daily News or the New York Times. He was a sports writer, covered the Jets many years ago at one time. He went to Texas A&M. He's a Texas guy. But he had a son who was a Spurs fan. And his son was about 18, 19 years old, near the end of the Tim Duncan era. And he said, my son, all he knows is the Spurs will win 55, 60 games a year, contend for or go to the finals, and often win the finals. And I remember he said this. He told me he told his son this late in Tim Duncan's career. He said, when we had Tim, Tony, and Manu, and he said, savor every moment of this, because you don't think this is going to come to an end. You think it's always going to be like this, but this is going to come to an end one day. And indeed, the Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker era did very shortly after. Richard Oliver said that to his son. Enjoy this. Savor it. This is special. This is rare. This is never going to happen again. I think the same thing applies to Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich, especially for San Antonio, for Pop to become the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, which we, I think appropriately and affectionately call Military City, USA. We have such a military influence. People either in the military or somebody in their family in the military or someone close to them in the military, either serving now or have served. That certainly applies to me and my family as well. Greg Popovich, an Air Force Academy graduate, as David Robinson was a Naval Academy graduate. But Pop has built a culture with this Spurs team that it's kind of got kind of a military feel to it. You become a Spur and you're kind of entering the Spurs military, and Greg Popovich is your commanding officer. And Greg Popovich has been the commanding officer of this Spurs team for many, many years now. And, while, yes, he can be tough and gruff, he also has a great heart. Shannon, I posted it. There was an ESPN story over the weekend where it was untold stories about Greg Popovich. They people who worked with him, from Mike Budenholzer to Chad Forcier to David, everybody told a story about Pop. And I think it was Chad Forcier, who was an assistant coach for many years and is now an assistant coach to Mike Budenholzer in Milwaukee. And he told about a freezing cold night in Toronto. Spurs were playing the Raptors. Game was over. They all went out to dinner. It was freezing, freezing, freezing cold. And Pop was wearing a leather jacket. And the guy I'm not into big dollar fashion, but he gave the name of this. It was the equivalent of like a Louis Vuitton or a Prada. I don't even know the names of expensive, like Italian men's leather jackets, but it seemed like it was like a, $1,000 or thousands of dollars leather jacket. And they're walking back to the hotel and they're freezing. It's like zero temperature wise in Toronto. And they see a homeless guy huddled in a corner asleep outside, and Coach Pop reaches into his wallet, opens his wallet, grabs whatever cash is in there. There's a few hundreds, at least, the guy said. He stuffed it into the pocket of his very expensive Italian leather jacket, took off his leather jacket, and covered the homeless man with the jacket. Did not wake him, covered him, so he would eventually wake up with that jacket and discover the money in it. That's something Pop does that you don't hear about until somebody like Chad Forcier tells that story. I tell that story because it touched me, and it tells you a little bit about who the man Greg Popovich is. After he got the record and surpassed Don Nelson for most regular season victories in NBA history, whenever I say that, I remind you he's also already had regular plus postseason, because Spurs went to the playoffs all the time, seemingly, under Pop, and won a lot of games. Let's listen. This is only about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is Pop in postgame, and true to form, he is humble. He is grateful. You will hear him at one point say, "This is not my record. This is our record." And I loved Pop before I heard this press conference, but I must tell you, I love him even more now. This is from Friday night after he was doused with water in the locker room, talking to the media, moments after he has set the record and jumped ahead of his friend and mentor, Don Nelson, reacting to his new record. Here's Spurs head coach, Greg Popovich.
It's just a testament to a whole lot of people. Something like this does not belong to one individual. Basketball is a team sport, and you preach to your players that they have to do it together, and that's certainly been the case in my life with all the wonderful players and coaches, staff that I've been blessed with, the support of this wonderful city. The fans support us no matter what. All of us share in this record. It's not mine. It's ours here in the city because of all those people that I just mentioned. So that's the joy of it. And after that, that's it. Somebody else will have it down the road. I've had a lot of people along the way. It would be difficult to start naming all the players, coaches, staff that we've had, but there have been some people, that took a chance on me, mainly Larry and Don Nelson. Why, I don't know, but they did, and things worked out. It was fortuitous, I guess. But the ironic thing about this is that Nelly gave me a job when I didn't have one back in '92, and he took me on, and so to be in this position in the same breath as him is, in my opinion, undeserving and quite awkward because he was so wonderful and saved my family's ass. So it's ironic that I'm sitting here in this situation. The other person I should mention, Hank Egan, who in the very beginning made me fall in love with coaching back at the Air Force Academy, and R.C. Buford, who has been by my side this entire time making decisions, and he deserves as much credit as all the coaches and players and everybody else that I can't name right now. When you're doing this long, there's a whole lot of names in there. So we're very happy about it, and I emphasize we.
He emphasizes we. You know what? Part of Pop's legacy is we. He is a team builder. He is a leader. And Shannon, I want to get your reaction to what we just heard, and then we'll get Jeremy's reaction. To be as good as he is, and you could argue, and I do believe he's the GOAT. I think Red Auerbach and, the Zen master Phil Jackson and other coaches who won a lot of championships, had a lot of virtues, including major markets and guys like Michael Jordan and Bill Russell and Shaq and Kobe. And I know Pop had Tim Duncan, so you can argue against that as well. But for him to be this successful, yet this humble, I told you the story about giving up his jacket for the homeless guy. Pop does so much work with the San Antonio Food Bank and other charities. He's amazing. And I truly believe this franchise would no longer be in San Antonio if Greg Popovich never happened. Your thoughts on Pop, his achievement, and what we just heard?
Yeah, we poke fun at Pop and kind of that hard exterior, and you talk about his military background and how that might have something to do with it. But what's so great about him is that he is equally as great as a man off the court, as you mentioned that great story, as he is a coach on the court. And he commands respect, and he gets it from those that others consider legends as well. I mean, congrats were heard around the league, around the world, when he made that record over the weekend. You know, it wasn't just San Antonio that was celebrating him. The opposing team and the Utah Jazz were celebrating him. LeBron James tweeted about how he is the GOAT. He's number one of all time. You've got video of Doc Rivers congratulating Pop on his big night. I mean, everyone who has brushed him in some sort of way recognizes who he is as a coach and as a person. And you know, if you say San Antonio Spurs would not be in San Antonio without Coach Pop, I believe you, because that's just the kind of weight that man carries.
Jeremy, you're a Spurs fan, and by the way, a big assist to Jeremy for finding that audio. First of all, a thank you to Michael Bartlett. Michael edited it, so you just heard Pop's comments. There were questions by reporters. We just wanted to give you the main course, which is Pop himself. So thank you to Michael Bartlett. But we couldn't find that this morning. We didn't know where Michael Bartlett put it in the system. And Jeremy Kolok did some amazing detective work. In fact, I had given up. I thought, damn, we're not going to have the Pop audio. So Jeremy, first of all, thank you for securing that audio and your thoughts as you listen and your thoughts as you saw this happen over the weekend and reflected upon it.
Such a well-deserved accolade and moment. You know, this has been said by you and just many a times that Popovich never wants to be in the limelight. He doesn't want the credit. It's almost like it makes him uncomfortable. So it was time. It was time for him to get the credit. It was time for him to have his moment that he can't brush off onto someone else, that he can't, you know, make Tim Duncan the face of. It was time for him to have his moment. And he tried to scurry off the court after, you know, saying his words to Rudy Gay and the Jazz players. He tried to get out of there like it was just a normal game. And I'm glad that, first of all, Rudy Gay coming over to talk to him delayed it. And obviously Rudy Gay, the former Spur. So appreciate Rudy Gay for that. And that kind of allowed the Spurs players to gather around Pop and eventually, you know, jump around and whatnot, have that moment in front of the fans, actually in the open arena. And then, like you mentioned, David Robinson steps over in front of the tunnel, so Pop can't just walk out then. And David Robinson delays it even more. So shout out to Rudy Gay and David Robinson for making sure Pop was in the public eye for that, you know, few extra seconds so that the San Antonio crowd could give him his well-deserved applause. And then the moment in the locker room was just perfect. I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect. You have DeJounte, the leader of the team. He gave a tremendous speech. He had a great tweet where he said, you know, he loves Pop and this is there's nobody else that deserves it more. And it's just the balancing act of Pop and being able to, like, he has these two reputations at the same time where he's like super hardcore and he's gonna demand the most out of you, and like he's always grumpy and get off my lawn. He never smiles. But at the same time, like, I feel like we hear over and over and over again how excellent he is at building relationships with his players and with his staff and, you know, people behind the scenes in the Spurs organization. And I think he really does a good job at making the players feel like he actually cares about them, like for real, outside of basketball. Like no matter how angry they can make him on the basketball court, it doesn't affect how he sees them and his relationship with them off the court. And I think that's just almost just as impressive as him making adjustments, you know, on the court, and how great he is of a coach, you know, at the actual game.
I agree with everything the two of you just said. And Jeremy, you brought something up that I didn't think about it in those terms till you said it, that Pop had his moment here. And you're right. I think back to all the other championships and Pop doing what he does, defer to Tim Duncan, defer to David Robinson, defer to Manu and Tony, and defer to Kawhi in the championship where Kawhi was the MVP against Miami. I'll never forget, after they won that championship against Miami, Pop went to the bench and put his face in his hands and got emotional. And I remember going, "Oh my God, we never see that." And you think of the emotion of blowing that Game 6 the year before to Ray Allen with the 3-point shot when the champagne was being brought out and the Spurs let that get away. But you're right, and I didn't think about it. He, even though he didn't seek it, even though he's trying to run off the court, the Spurs, Rudy Gay, David Robinson, Jakob, and everybody, and then DeJounte in the locker room saw to it, as you put it, that Pop had his moment. And Shannon, as a Spurs fan, watching that scene in the locker room where they douse him with water, to me, that is just up there. I look at all the championships, and those are the great moments. And for me, since day one, a Spurs fan in 73, obviously the first championship in 99 means the most to me. But after those 5 championships, and I know George Gervin won scoring titles, and Tim got all these accolades, and there were great I put that moment with Pop right up there, and like let's see, we got 5 championships, so that's number 6 on the list. To me, Shannon, it was almost like a championship, seeing kind of like this lifetime achievement award for Greg Popovich.
Yeah, for all the championships that the Spurs have won, and the great legends that have been sent to the Hall of Fame, just playing with Pop, this achievement, unlike maybe a championship or two that other coaches might have on their resume, this achievement to me recognizes the longevity of Coach Pop and what he's done in San Antonio. So when he finally decides that, yes, he will accept an invitation into the Hall of Fame, when he finally steps away and there are montages displayed across the league about Coach Pop, that video will certainly be in the highlight reel. And if not, maybe used as a tail end to it to really celebrate, because they weren't how many times do you see a celebration like that when there is not a trophy attached to it? I can't name another time.
Never.
I mean, that's how special it is.
True. You're right. Wow. Bingo. Wow. You're so right. You like in baseball, you win the National League pennant, or there's usually a trophy attached. That's a huge point. All right, coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We will talk more Tom Brady. I love it. Shannon and Jeremy, meh. On Tom Brady. We will talk brackets and the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about baseball and free agency. What about Carlos Correa? Astros, you and Carlos Correa are on the clock. We'll get into all that. Sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Your chance to win NASCAR tickets at COTA later this month. That's coming up. And we'll continue to tell you how you can compete with us with a bracket challenge for the NCAA tournament. Woo! So much going on in the world of sports. It is a manic, mega, massive Monday. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok making the show go till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Yeah, Sam, that was Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay got to him. First it was Quinn Snyder hugged him, the Utah coach, then Rudy Gay, and then Pop was going to make his way to the locker room, and Jakob got him first, and then everybody else showed up. Gabe Quintanilla, I'm so with you. And thank you for the text. Gabe, I didn't even say this. When you texted me, Brady is back, I didn't know it yet. I was outside watching the sunset, and you texted me at 6:27 p.m., Brady returning to the Bucks. I don't know if you can read this. Gabe Quintanilla texted me, Brady returning to the Bucks. I said, what? And then I went to the internet, and then I'm like, oh my God, OMG. So I'm thrilled. It's such a great story. To me, it's so much fun. And what I love about it, he will play at age 45. When he turned 40, he said, I want to play till I'm 45. And I gotta believe that was in the back of his mind too. He spoke it into existence. He said it. I want to play until I'm, and if he walked away at 44, it's like, dude, you said you were going to play till you were 45. Now he will. I love it. Good morning, Clint Proctor. Clint, we're going to get you on the show before you do your Iron Man. Okay. Coffee time. I will give you more Jeremy since I'm stepping away for a moment.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing the wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Maxwell, welcome back. Gotta check something real quick. So Brian is here. I talked to him. He's checking. He said if it's he's checking it into. He says if it's clear on KTKR, he says then it's an Austin thing. He says we're sending them that clear feed, and then something is happening in Austin to create the static there. Is what he's saying. So. All right. Here we come. Oh, Maxwell, thank you for that. However, apparently when we go, I'm going to try something different here. Apparently when we go on air, the weather goes...
Shining in here.
With Shannon Salty Sweeney. What a day. So much to talk about as Tom Brady is back after a retirement of 40 days and 40 nights. Coach Greg Popovich has the all-time win record in the NBA, regular season and regular season plus postseason, which he already had. We heard and listened to Pop's post-game comments in the first half hour of this 7 o'clock hour, and we reacted to them. Just some very insightful perspective from Shannon and from Jeremy on that. We will continue. Those are two huge stories. We'll continue to talk about that. We will talk more about the NCAA tournaments, men's and women's, and the brackets and our brackets. We want you to participate with us. We will get into all of that in a moment. Shannon's Salty Shakedown. But first, this day in sports history and sports birthdays, starting off with sports history. March 14th. By the way, John Williams pointed out that it's Pi Day, 314, 3.14. Happy Pi Day, everybody. March 14th. On this day in 1954, Milwaukee Braves future home run king Hank Aaron made his rookie debut in an exhibition game against the Boston Red Sox. He hit a home run. That rookie would eventually become the home run king. Some people still consider him the home run king. Barry Bonds with your hamburger helper. This day in 1960, Philadelphia center Wilt Chamberlain sets an NBA playoff record at the time of 53 points in the Warriors' 132-112 win over the Syracuse Nationals at the Philadelphia Civic Center. And finally, on this day in 1967, in the NFL draft, the Baltimore Colts drafted Michigan State defensive end and native Texan Bubba Smith. Bubba Smith was a pretty badass football player. I didn't like him in Super Bowl V when he wreaked a little havoc on Craig Morton of the Cowboys. Not that I can't get over it. Those are your sports. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1930, Hall of Fame college basketball coach Don Haskins. You may remember Don Haskins led Texas El Paso to that first NCAA tournament championship in 1966 with an all-African-American lineup, which at the time was unheard of, which is insane that was going on in 1966, but he did it. So that team, in a big way in college basketball, breaks the color barrier for an NCAA tournament championship. Don Haskins was born in Enid, Oklahoma. He passed away in 2008. Born on this day in 1960, Major League Baseball center fielder Kirby Puckett had a spectacular career with the Minnesota Twins. Kirby Puckett was born in Chicago, Illinois. Sadly, he passed away in 2006. Born on this day in 1988, a man we gave a high five to last week, a man who made a little girl cry twice, once in a good way last week, Steph Curry, the three-point king, the man who loves to chew on his mouthpiece. Steph Curry was born on this day in 1988 in Akron, Ohio. And finally, and speaking of Ohio, and I did not know this, born on this day in 1997, American gymnast maybe the greatest American gymnast ever, Simone Biles. And we know she's from Houston, so I just thought she was born in Houston. Simone Biles was born in Columbus, Ohio. I even had to go Google that and Wiki. Wait, she's from Houston. No, she was born in Columbus, Ohio. I did not know that. Happy birthday, Simone Biles. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Manic Monday Pie Day Salty Shakedown.
And Tom Brady made it more manic, Chris, because he announced that he was going to be returning to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for his 23rd season. And while a lot of people were giddy, there has to be one man in the world who is feeling a little less than everyone else, even more down about it than myself and Jeremy. Chris, because as we recall, a ball that was at the time considered Tom Brady's final touchdown pass was a 55-yarder in that NFC divisional game against the Rams to Mike Evans. Mike Evans then handed the ball off to a fan after that touchdown. And in doing so, that fan then consigned the ball and put it up for auction with a starting bid of $100,000. That ball ended up being sold for $518,000. The guy who actually put it up for auction thought it would go for double that at $1 million, but either way, that's a lot of money for a football that is now not actually the last Tom Brady football. Is there insurance? Because I don't know how this works, Chris. I'm not a bidder. I'm not much of a bettor. Does the guy who sold the football have to give all the money back? Does the guy who bought the football have insurance that will pay him for, whatever? I mean, this mistake. I mean, maybe they should have waited to sell the ball until the next season started before we had confirmation that Tom Brady was not actually returning. I mean, I feel like this is going to start blowing up to be a bigger story. I feel like a court case is coming on.
It's an amazing story, but I mean, I think it's a case of let the buyer beware. I mean, we all knew since that podcast that he said never say never. So it's a great question. I would hope that if you're going to spend $500,000 plus on a piece of memorabilia, maybe you do get some sort of insurance. But that is and what's amazing, Shannon, I saw that story trending yesterday early in the day. Tom Brady's last football goes for over $500K, and and then 8 hours later, we hear Tom came out of return. Maybe Tom just wanted to punk that guy. Maybe that was the whole deal. Look, I'll show him. I'll come back.
I mean, it's still a Tom Brady touchdown ball, right? So there's that. But then I feel like it begins to lose value instantly when it's no longer Tom Brady's final touchdown pass that we know of. I mean, he could go out there game one, something, I'm not wishing anything horrible happens to Tom Brady, but just something where he's unable to play, so it still remains. But also they lost that game, right? So it's not like it was even a game-winning touchdown ball, and the Rams obviously went on to win the Super Bowl. It's just something that popped up, I think, to a lot of people's minds yesterday, and will probably continue to be a topic of conversation as Tom Brady has taken over the headlines this morning. Something else that made headlines yesterday, Chris, and this is kind of interesting. And during COVID times, right, the rules I felt like were constantly changing, and they still are in some areas. For me, it was just easiest to focus on what I was doing and where I was and what my surroundings and what places I was going into, what the rules were to take care of me and those around me. To make sure that I was following the rules. So I'm not really up to date on what's happening in the Californias and the New Yorks, right? But we do have this understanding that Kyrie Irving, he can play on the road with his Nets team, but he cannot play at home in the Barclays Center. And even though they have relaxed some of the vaccination rules, as in if you are unvaccinated, you can now attend games at the Barclays Center, Kyrie Irving still not able to play at home. So it had a lot of people questioning the current rules and the way they're laid out in New York yesterday when Kyrie Irving paid money to sit courtside at the Barclays Center to watch his team, the Nets, defeat the Knicks 110-107. It was a great game for KD. He put up 53 points. But I think what really made it sink into my mind how kind of weird these rules are right now was someone printed a map of, a seating chart of the Barclays Center. And in green, they highlighted all the places that Kyrie was allowed to be that day. And on red, they highlighted all the places that Kyrie could not be. Kyrie could be everywhere but the court, Chris. He could go get a hot dog at halftime and mingle with fans. He can go up to the nosebleeds, and then he could sit where he was, which was courtside. I mean, a foot away from just being on the court. It was kind of like, well, why can't he just play anyway? Chris, does this make you question their rulings at all? And what do you think of Kyrie? I don't know if that was a move Kyrie had to be like, well, I'm still going to go support my team, but I got to do it from the stands. Let me sit as close as possible, because I think he kind of opened some eyes there when he did that. And then also the fact that he bought those tickets. He didn't just get them.
I mean, a lot going on there. And wow, if he consciously made this decision to prove how ridiculous the inconsistency of rules are, it was a brilliant move if he walked into this doing it, because here you are talking about it. A lot of people now are pointing this out, and it may wind up having an impact. And you're right, for him to buy those tickets, ever since he said the earth was flat, I've kind of thought Kyrie was a little bit weird, and I've not been a big fan, but if for him to buy those tickets, that's a good move, man. For a guy who has a lot of money, he could have gotten somebody to give him those tickets. So when he had to pay face value or whatever he had to pay, I'm impressed by that, and it's a big story.
Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this week there's some, if the mayor or something has to come out and talk about it, because obviously fans of the Nets would love to see him on the floor with KD. All right, finally today, Chris, over the weekend, I wanted to do something I hadn't done before. It was pretty cold, but during the middle of the day with the sun out, it was quite nice here in Austin, Texas. A lot of things going on with South by, so didn't want to go downtown, didn't want to have to venture too far. But I found a brewery near Q2 Stadium. It was excellent. They had a great backyard. My boyfriend and I were hosting a friend from out of town, so we decided, hey, let's go check out this brewery. And oh, by the way, they're hosting Chicken Bleep Bingo, which none of us had ever played before, Chris. Have you done it?
I've heard of it. I've never played Chicken Bleep Bingo. I've seen it on TV.
It was a great time. But I feel like I have some adjustments. So let me explain the game as is in the way that I played it. You get there, and there wasn't a huge crowd at the brewery that day, so it was $2 a ticket. And the giant chicken crate had squares with random numbers associated, and so when you would pay $2, the lady would give you a ticket with a random number from one of the squares. So you didn't get to pick your number, you didn't get to pick your square. None of that. There were 2 chickens that she was trading out per game. And then I believe if you won, aka the chicken took a dump on your number, win $114. And we stayed there for a couple of rounds, and we played a couple of rounds. None of us won, so none of our beer ended up being free. But I just felt like you could really amplify this, and maybe that this is a bit of an untapped market, because they should be doing this during football season, Chris. They should be doing this during Dallas Cowboys games, right? Put the faces of the opponent on there. Let people strategize and pick their spots, and let them put their most sports-hated athlete as where they would like the chicken to go. I mean, also, you got to think about it. In order to get the chicken to do its business, there's also food that's scattered throughout the board. And just being handed a random card, I want to be able to see where the food is, predict where that chicken's going to be eating it, and therefore where the other end of said chicken will be to pick my number, because we were close at points, but not close enough to ultimately walk away with the cash. It was a great time. I think we'll do it again. The chicken was loaned from Little Longhorn Saloon, which is the original chicken bingo here in Austin. I think they still hold it on Sundays. I went on Saturday for this one. So it was a great time. I highly suggest it. It's a great thing to do with friends. If you've never done it before. But Chris, I just feel like I have some adjustments, and I want to know what you think about my sports, just sprinkling some sports in there and making it, I think, a little bit more exciting for fans like us.
I love your idea. I think it's a brilliant idea of hated athletes. I mean, some people hate Brady. A lot of people hate LeBron. I used to hate Kawhi, but I've forgiven him. I feel better about it. Feel better about myself. But I no that's a tremendous. And I'm gonna have to research. It sounds like such a Texas thing. I gotta believe Chicken Bleep Bingo must have started maybe in Austin, Texas, somewhere in Tech. It is a brilliant game for a bar in Texas. But I think you're on it. You may need to copyright your idea. You might be onto something. This could be a whole new thing.
Yeah. We were having a grand old time. There were 2 chickens in action, so it wasn't just one chicken that had to do all the work. But a great time. I hope it's something that we'll consider doing again. Again, we did not win, and I do not like losing, but I nonetheless still a great time. If you haven't tried it, I highly suggest it. Here in the Austin area, Little Longhorn Saloon. It was Celis Brewery that was my location. I think they do it every second Saturday of the month out there. And again, it's so cool. Q2 Stadium, I don't know if they realized it when they built it, the home of Austin FC, but there are tons of microbreweries all over the place. And those areas have really just become great hangout spots for Austinites who don't have tickets to the game or do and can walk over or before or after a game, but also during South by, right? We were able to hang out and not be associated or bogged down by any folks in town for South by, which I think is going well so far. I've only heard good things, but it's just not something that as a local Austinite I'm super into.
Yeah, I would do South by if I could afford it. I once had a platinum pass, but yeah, if I had an extra couple $1,000, I'd be there. I love it, man. A tremendous salty shakedown. Chicken blank bingo. That could be big. Go online, live stream what the chicken's doing, have people bid online with an app. That could be our next big thing. Coming up, big 8:00 hour. We haven't even gotten into Deshaun Watson yet. My God. We'll get into Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady, Coach Pop, NCAA March Madness. We are all over it. Stick around on the Chris Duel Show. Hello, Dean Stone. Gonna lower that a little. And Jason, is the XFL coming? There was no announcement. There was that one article about that coach resigning from college. And it said so he can coach the San Antonio I'm not 100% the XFL is coming. Yeah, Sam, I ran the audio through my mic in that segment to try to get rid of the static. So hopefully that helps. Thank you for the feedback, Sam. That was what we're hoping to do there. I need some ice for my iced coffee. I need to nuke my coffee. So I'm going to go do that. Yeah, Dean, I'm with you. Even if you don't like Tom Brady, and I understand, I a few years ago didn't like Tom Brady. I was sick of it all. It's great for the NFL. I mean, even if you don't like him, it's great to have an antagonist. Any drama is only as good as its antagonist. Yeah. Again, Sam, no official announcement on the XFL, but we'll get into that. Okay. Jason says Mayor Nierenberg had no comment. The Alamo Dome officials were not available. I mean, I know it makes sense, and I hope it's right. But that was a story, and as I recall, just not even from a major news site. And everybody jumped on it, and I get it. Of course, they're going to jump on it. I hope it happens. I mean, I think for like an XFL or a USFL, I think there is no city more deserving than San Antonio. I mean, your NFL cities already have an NFL franchise. So, you know, when the XFL put franchises in Dallas and Houston last time, I thought that was a bit ridiculous. And, you know, Dallas, they played, I think, at Frisco at the Cowboys' Jerry facility, which is a smaller venue. But I think we demonstrated with the Commanders and previously with the New Orleans Saints after Katrina that we're the real deal and we are deserving. Totally agree, Maxwell. All right. Wow. Craft Beer Bob, and I can say the official name now that we're not on the air. Craft Beer Bob texted us. Chicken Shit Bingo has been played in a bar in New Berlin for the past 10 years. I did not know that. But is that where it originated? Ah. Sam, that's another very good one. Dean, I think so eventually. Muting for just a moment for our evil Facebook overlords. Brady, brackets, baseball, pop, Deshaun Watson, Carlos Correa, Joe Buck. That was a big story. Well, there's so much we still have to get to. What a weekend in sports. Shannon, by the way, Chris Duel show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok doing a bang-up job as he always does, but even more so today as we're putting out fires with some technical issues, or at least trying to. And he found some Greg Popovich audio that was going to be lost in the system that we played for you a little less than an hour ago. But Shannon, I look at this sports weekend from Greg Popovich to Tom Brady to the conference championships to Deshaun Watson. We'll get into that news. To baseball free agency. Where's Correa going? You know, all kinds of stuff. To an XFL rumor in San Antonio. Joe Buck leaving Fox Sports to join Troy Aikman for Monday Night Football. I don't remember. You know, I know a Super Bowl weekend is huge, and I know any kind of college football or NFL weekend is huge, but I don't remember a sports weekend with so many big stories across so many different sports. You know, the women's Texas Longhorns basketball team and what they accomplished over the weekend. I don't remember a weekend like this where so much happened over the weekend that was very, very, very significant.
MLB, lots of players getting signed. Carlos Correa put his house on the market on Friday in Houston, which you can speculate one way or the other what that might mean. And then, you know, obviously March Madness and the NBA and football galore.
Jason Paniagua pointing out, and I didn't even mention this one, the fact that Amari Cooper, add that. Every time I add another big story over the weekend, I forget another one. Somebody goes, oh, you forgot this one. Let's go there, and then let's get into some Deshaun Watson, and we'll talk about in this hour. We're going to go around the horn and talk about every big story from Tom Brady to Greg Popovich to baseball to the Cowboys. And if you want to dive in with us at any point, either on the phone lines, 800-707-9760. We will play, by the way. We do have some people leaving us messages on the all-new opportunity you have on the free iHeart Radio app. There's now a microphone button on the very bottom of your smartphone on the screen. If you listen via AM 1300 The Zone in Austin or Ticket 760 out of San Antonio, somebody did send us a message earlier this morning. We will play that as well. But Shannon, let's start with the Dallas Cowboys and Amari Cooper traded to the Cleveland Browns. The more I think about the Amari Cooper thing, and some Cowboy fans are going, hey man, you gave up a number 1 draft pick for this guy. Well, I think I heard over the weekend the Cowboys now saved like $16 million against the salary cap. And if we're going to be honest, Shannon, sometimes Amari Cooper did look like a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, but he would also disappear sometimes, and he would also disappear sometimes on the road. And at that price tag, $100 million over 5 years, now that you have CeeDee Lamb, I think you have the latitude to make some moves at wide receiver and shed some cap hit on him.
Yeah, as a Cowboys fan, I'm not super disappointed in losing him because of who we have. And then yesterday we get word that the Cowboys signed Michael Gallup to a 5-year, $62.5 million deal. I think I'm with a lot of Cowboys Nation and just kind of the disappointment in what we got out of him while we had him and what we traded to get him and what could have ended up being a great pick in a previous draft to get a wide receiver that would be around for a little bit longer and on the cheap and maybe was a little bit more productive on the road than we saw from Amari Cooper at times. And you know, we talked to Coach Paul Alexander on Friday about the likelihood that Amari would be leaving the Cowboys. And he said, listen, the Cowboys are just in a hard spot because everyone knows that they need and want to get rid of him for cap space. So they're not going to get a lot for him. And ultimately, that's what it came down to. Kind of interesting that obviously the Browns lose in having to send away OBJ to the Rams. He ends up with a Super Bowl. Amari Cooper seemingly coming in to replace him and add to their offensive lineup. But you wonder if it's going to be the same story for Amari as it was for Odell Beckham Jr.
Now I'm seeing we got a comment on the live video feed from Abel Cerritos who says Amari can't throw the ball to himself, which kind of sounds like he's taking a shot at Dak Prescott there. It really makes the drafting of CD Lamb seem all the more fortuitous and visionary for the Cowboys. Now that he is your marquee centerpiece receiver, now you pay some money to Michael Gallup, and you've got to add more talent to this Cowboys team if you want to get over the hump. And I think if you had Amari Cooper there, you wouldn't be able to do that. Now, if I'm Amari Cooper, though, Shannon, we say it all the time, Cleveland is the place quarterbacks go to die. Well, those quarterbacks throw the ball, and you got to wonder, Amari Cooper's fortunes, at least for one more year, depending on what they do with Baker Mayfield, may be tied to Baker Mayfield. I don't know if that gives a wide receiver a whole lot of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, Jarvis Landry, obviously on the other side of the ball there in Cleveland with him. I don't know if the Browns are looking at what the Cowboys were able to do with the success that Amari and CD had at times and thought, okay, maybe OBJ and his ego were part of the problem as well, right? When he wasn't getting enough balls thrown his way, that kind of became an issue. But it is interesting as far as Amari is concerned. Like, if I'm him, I'm not super thrilled about the situation, right? Because I'm now going to a team did not make the playoffs, and their quarterback is in question as far as, is he the future of the team? You obviously, I don't know what his relationships are off the field, but if he's a buddy of Odell Beckham Jr.'s, I'm sure Odell's been in his ear, or maybe he's seen what we've seen, and just Odell being unhappy, like he's probably thinking, am I going to end up going down that route as well? But ultimately for the Cowboys, I'm okay with it. I think we all had time to kind of accept it as well as it was expected. I think I'm even more okay with, however, Chris, of Greg the Leg Zuerlein, Dallas Cowboys kicker, is now the former Dallas Cowboys kicker. I mean, can we just, give it up? Let's just have Dak kick it.
Yes.
Like, we don't need an actual kicker. They're all as good, if not better, than Greg the Leg. Why waste the money?
Well, and Shannon, you've said earlier, Dicker the kicker from the Texas Longhorns, a guy who may go in this draft at kicker. The door is now open. I don't know where Dicker the kicker is on the Cowboys draft board, but that would kind of be cool if it played out that way.
Yeah, and it's odd because Jerry Jones, for whatever reason, doesn't love drafting former Longhorns, and also they did, as we recall, early on in the offseason, pick up former Texas kicker before Dicker the kicker came in. Dicker the kicker comes in, wins that job, and ultimately Chris Nagar ends up going to SMU to kick, but now he is with the Dallas Cowboys, so they may find that he's worth it. He's a little cheaper than maybe a new guy coming in, like. But Dicker the kicker, to me, obviously he won the job at Texas. Why can't he come in and win the job as a Dallas Cowboy?
Well, and for that kicker from SMU, the former Longhorn. Wouldn't that suck for him if he had to, because of Dicker the kicker, he had to move to SMU, and then it's like, oh man, now I got a shot to be the Cowboys kicker. Oh no, look who just showed up on the field. It's Dicker the kicker. He's going to take my job again. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, that's got to be a psychological warfare a little bit right there.
Now, all right, I got to ask you because, and we'll talk Deshaun Watson here in a moment. We're gonna just go around the horn and hit all of these big sports stories that broke over the weekend. When are we doing this NASCAR thing? Are we doing this now, or when do you want to do the NASCAR giveaway?
Oh, you and I do not give away the keyword. It is during the break.
Oh, I see. I thought it happened during the segment. So did it happen already? I don't even know. So is it at the bottom, or did it already happen?
Yeah,
Okay. Be listening. All right. That's what I get for. It's been one of those Mondays, Shannon. It's been a fun. We had some static on the line earlier, but we got great stories, great things going on in the world of sports, and some, are they great or aren't they great? And I got to admit, I did not see this Deshaun Watson story coming and playing out the way it played out. It was another big story that broke on Friday and technically over the weekend. We learned that the grand jury in Houston will not file charges against Deshaun Watson. And my goodness, this does not mean necessarily not guilty. I mean, obviously, even, when a criminal court of law found O.J. Simpson not guilty, the civil trial wound up costing O.J. quite a bit. So it remains to be seen if any of these 22 accusers will continue to pursue Deshaun Watson in a civil trial. But Shannon, clearly a huge triumph and a huge victory for Deshaun Watson, as the Houston grand jury examined the evidence and said there is no there, at least as far as pursuing criminal charges against him. And you look at his skill set, and I heard a lot of people say, instantly, phones must have been ringing for the Houston Texans and for Deshaun Watson. Your reaction to what didn't happen with the Houston grand jury, and where do you think Deshaun Watson lands?
Honestly, I was surprised that there would be no criminal indictment, but I've got to believe that whatever evidence or lack thereof that was presented to them didn't call for it. I gotta be on the side of the courts and believe in what they have to say there. And then so it's not surprising in that, because this went down the way it did, that teams who are in need and feel like they are a quarterback away from that next level are going after him, in the likes of Carolina and obviously Matt Rule, who I would consider him to be coaching for his job this next season, and the Saints, who not only feel like they're still starting from scratch because they no longer have Drew Brees, but because they are now without Sean Payton as well. And if you get Deshaun, if he's able to play, if he's able to continue playing at the level he had been playing before, he's a franchise guy and he can help that team continue on. I think in all of this, I feel bad for Jameis Winston. If the Saints is where Deshaun ends up, a lot of people are believing that it would be Carolina over the Saints. Obviously, Deshaun has to waive that no trade clause that he's got in place in his current contract. But it is wild, and it makes your head spin a little bit to think about where this is now versus where it was a year ago, and to see how these other fan bases and advertisers will respond to Deshaun coming on and being a part of another organization.
Yeah, see, I think now, and I often say, because I think it's a truism, where there's smoke, there's fire. And there were 22 accusers saying that Deshaun Watson did something extremely inappropriate during those massage sessions. But I think, and the way you can spin things now more than ever via social media and elsewhere, the fact that that grand jury chose not to file charges. I think if charges were filed against him, then it would have been infinitely worse if an NFL team ever somewhere down the line tried to sign him. I think now, I think a lot of people, Shannon, don't pay close attention. They know the headline. The headline is no charges were filed. And Deshaun Watson, his attorney, and Deshaun Watson went to social media, and thanked the Lord, for the decision and more, and again, maintained his innocence here. So I think while some will, people like me who still believe that there's a there, and there's some there's some fire where there's the smoke, do not have a high opinion of Deshaun Watson. I think it opens the door and enables him now to go and, do what he does best. I just hope for his sake, and I doubt it, because if someone has it in them to behave the way he is alleged to have behaved, I hope it's a wake-up call for Deshaun Watson. I mean, if I'm his agent, if I'm his family, I say, dude, if you ever need a massage ever in your life, and you're an athlete, so you're going to need a massage, it can never be a woman. This is something you cannot do. You cannot have a woman giving you a massage. If you want to date women, date them and do what you need to do, Deshaun. But I just hope he. Now, Robert Chapa says, and this is an angle, and a lot of people are believing this. Robert Chapa says Watson is a victim of being a pro athlete, and women wanted to get paid. LOL. 22 women, and not one story was credible. Now, see, and Shannon, I believe that's where people are going to take this. A lot of people, and certainly Robert, the fact that no charges were filed by the grand jury, there's a lot of fans out there who will say all 22 of those women lied. Those 22 women were gold diggers. All 22 of them were liars. And I don't think life is that black and white. I think there's a lot of gray area. And again, I just think something happened to make these 22 women come forward. Okay, Shannon, now I'm seeing the information that you and I have about this NASCAR giveaway. Explain what we're giving away, and explain what we know about this NASCAR giveaway.
Chance to win a 3-day GA ticket to the event. It's going to be amazing. That pair of tickets available now for you with the keyword NASCAR. We're starting easy here. NASCAR keyword. Take that keyword over to Ticket 760 or AM13onthezone.com and enter it for your chance to win a pair of tickets to this incredible event. NASCAR coming back to Austin, Texas.
That's a pretty easy keyword. If you want to go see NASCAR at COTA later this month, the keyword is NASCAR. And Shannon, again, so you go to AM 1300 The Zone with that keyword, and it'll be pretty apparent where to put it.
I do believe so.
Very cool. And we'll, as that NASCAR event approaches, we'll talk more about it. How cool NASCAR coming to Austin and coming to Circuit of the Americas. As Sam Tobias points out, and we shall see, on our live video feed, Sam says, remember, just because no criminal charges were filed, that doesn't mean civil charges cannot be filed. And we'll wait and see on that. And, but if you're a Deshaun Watson fan and whatever you believe, it was big for him. I mean, could have gone very, very bad for him in a lot of ways had that grand jury filed charges. Now, another big story and another thing we're continuing to track, Shannon, out of Houston, Carlos Correa. We had thought maybe he would either sign with another team, or as I hope and you hope, the Houston Astros by the weekend. Nothing has happened yet on that front, but there are some tea leaves to be read based on some things Carlos Correa is doing. What do we know on the Carlos Correa situation?
Friday, when his Houston area home was listed as for sale. That is the home where he had that infamous massage himself that ended up breaking one of his ribs. So, maybe don't get your massages done there because it's a little cursed. But, I can read this two ways, Chris. I can read this as he's moving away to another team, but I choose to read it as, it's a modest house. I think it's listed for a little over $1 million. It doesn't look like it's in a gated community. I'm reading this as the Astros, who have said that they've been in discussions with him, have offered him more money. It's more money than he had before. Why not go bigger? Why not go better? Why not go gated community? You're Carlos Correa. Everyone knows who you are now, probably more so than when you first bought that Houston area home. So why not take it to the next level in the Houston area and just upgrade? It's just an upgrade, folks. He's not going anywhere yet. Just because he followed a couple of, Yankees players on Instagram this weekend, like that doesn't matter either. Okay, they're friends. They're just friends. Like Garrett Cole, an old friend of his, an old teammate of his. They're just trying to reconnect, get back together. Him listing his home, it's just because he's probably going to buy bigger and better in Houston. That is what I am telling myself to make myself feel better on this Monday morning, Chris.
God, I hope I love your optimism, which might be delusion, but I like the way you think. If he goes to the Yankees, because I had heard over the weekend, Shannon, that the Cubs were in the mix. I could live with the Cubs, and I like the fact that they would not be in the American League, so the Astros wouldn't have to contend with Carlos Correa in the postseason unless they faced the Cubs in the World Series. I'd hate the Dodgers if he went to the Dodgers, but I would hate more than any team if he goes to the New York Yankees. And as you mentioned, now he's following some Yankees on Instagram. It might be the Yankees. That would suck. I'm just saying. I would not like that.
I wouldn't like it either. Look what they did to Garrett Cole. Do you really want to go there?
Yeah. And I hate to wish ill will on Carlos if he goes, but it didn't work out yet for Garrett Cole. Good point, Shannon. All right. Coming up, more reaction. And I've got a source in the Bay Area who sheds a little more light on this Tom Brady decision yesterday. A lot of people thought if he comes back, it's going to be to the San Francisco 49ers. Did Tom make an overture to the San Francisco 49ers? Did the 49ers give Tom Brady a signal? Is that why it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We will talk about that. We've got to react to Joe Buck giving up baseball, which his dad was such a huge part of, and he has been such a huge part of, giving up baseball to join his buddy, Troy Aikman, in the Monday Night Football booth. We'll talk about that. James Harden apparently not focusing entirely on basketball and getting ready for the playoffs. We'll talk about that and more. All the big stories, Tom Brady, Greg Popovich, the brackets in college basketball, March Madness, and how you can compete with Shannon, Jeremy, and me. All that coming up. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show.
Now I'm just gonna sit at the dock of a bay.
Little Otis Redding on the way out. Very nice. Maxwell, we talked about that on Friday, and at first glance, you would say no, Antonio Brown to Dallas, but LeVar Arrington on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe, the national radio show that's ahead of us on Fox Sports Radio, he was making the case for it. He brought up Greg Hardy. Jerry Jones took a shot at him. T.O., from a marketing standpoint, Antonio Brown, at least for a while, would be a big deal. And, now with Amari Cooper gone, you never know. So I think clearly the odds are against it. But I think if you created a contract that said, one strike and you're out. Here's the deal. One strike and you're out. And first of all, I think it's going to be it's going to end bad no matter what, just based on Antonio Brown's track record. Shannon and I and Jeremy talked about it on Friday, but one of the point of views, and Shannon may have brought this up, you wouldn't do this to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is the leader of this team, and for him to have to contend with Antonio Brown in the locker room, in the huddle, on the sideline, I don't know, man. Yeah, good point, Anthony. Yankee fans, all will be forgiven if they get him. Oh, do you have that audio from Robert Browning? Okay. And it's only one, correct?
Yeah, it's just one.
Okay, we'll play that. In fact, we might just do that out of the gate so we don't forget. Here we come. Final segment. Here we go.
Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
What a weekend in sports. What a Monday in sports. My God. So many things to talk about, so many things to react to. Tom Brady is back. The brackets have dropped. March Madness, Greg Popovich, Deshaun Watson, Carlos Correa. It's just story after story after story, and we are all over it. And we will continue to do so until 9 o'clock this morning. Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok makes the show go. Also, throughout the show, we've been telling you about this on the free iHeartRadio app. Not only do you get us crystal clear, but there's some cool innovations there, or a brand new one we love a lot. If you ever want to react to us and get to us instantly, when you go to AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760 on the iHeartRadio app, bottom of the screen, you'll see a red microphone button. You tap that and you can talk to us, send it instantly, and we get your message. And we got a message earlier this morning from Tokyo, Japan, but it wasn't from Taro Kotani, the greatest international Spurs fan. It was from Robert Browning, who also listens regularly from Tokyo and joins us as well on the live video feed. So using that free iHeartRadio app and messaging us, here is what Robert Browning had to tell us.
Chris Duel, Shannon Salty Sweeney. I know you guys hate spring forward, but fortunately it works out for me here in Japan because you're on an hour earlier. I took a huge fall yesterday as I was climbing a mountain, preparing for Mount Fuji later this year. But all is good. I had the Spurs flag in my bag. Didn't plant it because I'm saving it for the big hill. Love you guys. Can't wait to hear the show today.
Wow. And Shannon, you and Jeremy and I know what that means, but for our listeners, Robert Browning lives in Tokyo. Among other things, he's a mountain climber, and the huge mammoth mountain is Mount Fuji. He is a Spurs fan. He has a Spurs flag. He is going to climb to the top of Mount Fuji, and you can Google or Wikipedia, see how tall that is. We've done that before. It's big. It's tall. He's going to plant the Spurs flag. But Shannon, as you and I have discussed, and he's going to video that, of course. You got to have video evidence. Plus, that's street cred for Instagram and other social media. But we need to also, Shannon, develop a show flag with our names on it, of course. And he said if we do that and get it to him, he will plant our show flag next to the Spurs flag atop Mount Fuji. That'll be cool. Well, I think so. Well, when I figure we'll do that. I'll do that here, and I better do it quickly and get it to him because he's going to make that attempt this spring very shortly. So we'll do that. We'll mail it to him. We'll ship it to him in Tokyo. But somebody said you got to remember the winds atop Mount Fuji are like 50, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. So I got to come up with a flag and a sturdy flag that will stay there. So, all right. So there's that. Now, before we dive back into some of the big sports stories, including Joe Buck giving up his baseball reporting and play-by-play on Fox to join Troy Aikman on Monday Night Football, I want to remind everybody, Shannon, they can compete against you, me, and Jeremy in this upcoming NCAA men's basketball tournament. We've got a bracket up. Tell us about that and what's the best way to get to it. Yes. Very, very cool. In a moment, I've got some inside information on Tom Brady and what inspired him to make this decision. But first, Shannon, so many big stories over the weekend. Just like the Deshaun Watson thing went opposite of what I would have predicted with the grand jury not filing charges. Joe Buck, I thought he's not going to give up Fox. He loves baseball. He's like one of their leading football guys, and he's able to follow in his dad's footsteps and have that big voice on the World Series and throughout the baseball season. But Joe Buck gives it all up to work with his buddy, Troy Aikman, on Monday Night Football. What do you think of that?
Or via football than I do baseball. Now, obviously, he is a huge part of the World Series, but I think I'll be okay with someone else filling the role for Joe Beck because I really do enjoy them together, Troy and Joe. And when Troy made that jump from Fox to ESPN, I was saddened by that kind of breakup that would naturally occurring because of that. I was curious as to who they would pair up. I think they do a great job together. So I'm happy that the two of them will be back together. I'm sure ESPN is thrilled about it because obviously they've struggled with their broadcasting department for Monday Night Football in recent years. And, you bring in a certified duo, you would expect the job to be done and be done well.
Yeah. And I got to believe Troy Aikman is happy with this. I got to believe they've talked a lot. Troy probably wanted this. They wanted to work together. So, I think also, Joe Buck kind of at this point, he's done it all as far as baseball and the World Series. And it is kind of a thing where he followed in his dad's footsteps. And I think this is almost a way for Joe Buck to say, I'm going to blaze a different trail now and kind of go in a different direction than my dad did. And, he's with his partner, Troy Aikman. And I'm with you as well. I saw Luisa Alanis on our live feed say, she wanted Troy Aikman to go out on his own. But they're a duo. It's like Simon and Garfunkel or Hall and Oates. They work together, and that's kind of been their thing. All right, I've got some insight on this Tom Brady thing, Shannon. You know how I talk about one of the reasons I hate the San Francisco 49ers is when I went to USC in January 10th, 1982, Joe Montana to Dwight Clark. They beat the Cowboys, and I had a friend at USC who to this day will not let me forget about it. He's a hardcore 49ers fan, and now he's a radio executive in San Francisco, and he's got a lot of ties to the San Francisco 49ers. He's a season ticket holder, and he's got a lot of inside sources with the 49ers. I will read you what he texted me last night. He tends to be right. Take this either with a grain of salt or take it seriously. And knowing him as a source, he usually has pretty good sources. Here's what he wrote me. Tom Brady deep down wanted to play another year. He said, my sources say his agent, Don Yee, reached out to John Lynch to see if the Niners were interested in a 1-year low ball deal. The Niners said no. They were committed to Trey Lance, and they wanted to spend the $25 million coming off the books with an impending Jimmy Garoppolo trade and spread it among Nick Bosa and Deebo Samuel. Tom Brady was devastated. It's the second time in 3 years that his boyhood team rejected him. So he flew to London to be a guest of the Glazer family to watch their European soccer team play, and he told the Glazers that he wanted to keep playing. So, Shannon, part of this, if this is true, could be Brady wanted to go to the Niners, and once again the Niners said no, and maybe again part of Brady's calculus here is, well, I'll show them. You guys didn't take me the first time. I went and won a Super Bowl. You don't want me this time. Hold my beer. What do you think?
I think that checks out on all fronts and makes sense. And I also, just given how last season unfolded, right, it was the Rams versus the 49ers to see who would go to the Super Bowl. It would have been the Bucs versus the 49ers had they had beaten the Rams. And so, if those pieces kind of fall into place similarly to how they did last season, it could be the 49ers versus the Bucs to see who goes to the Super Bowl. And that, to me, sounds like the ultimate revenge. Emotionally, I feel for the guy, right? I mean, it's like meeting that celebrity or don't meet your idols, right? And then you do, and it's not what you think it is. So maybe this is what's best for him, right? Because he could go to San Francisco and it could be a complete train wreck. And then that's how he ends his tenure as a quarterback in the NFL. So maybe it's for the best. Again, it's interesting. What did you say, 40 days? He was retired.
40 days and 40 nights, yep.
See pictures of him at that soccer game across the pond. So that's pretty interesting that's how that ultimately wound him back into the National Football League as opposed to the Football League. But yeah, I think him being back in Tampa, and as far as chances for him getting back to the Super Bowl, I think that's currently the best situation for him anyway.
And Shannon, our poll question this morning is all about the return of Tom Brady. And we asked our listeners how things will turn out for Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What did we learn this morning?
All right. Well, starting with the vote of no confidence, 10% of folks saying Tom Brady won't make the playoffs with the Bucs. He's in 40% saying it'll be an early playoff exit, 35% saying a deep playoff run, and 15%, including yourself, Chris, Super Bowl championship for Tom Brady and the Bucs once more.
I am a 15%er. I believe Brady is magic. It's going to be a magic storybook ending. But I hope, Shannon, that Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott in the NFC Championship throws a touchdown pass to Antonio Brown to defeat the Buccaneers. And Antonio Brown takes off his jersey and throws it at Bruce Arians and at Tom Brady. And the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. What do you think?
You lost me when you threw Antonio Brown.
I just,
Don't need.
Thank you.
Lives.
My goodness, Shannon, what a sports weekend it was. So many huge stories on so many fronts. And today, Monday, maybe we get some Carlos Correa news. We'll see how the Monday plays out. Great show, great salty shakedown. Let's do it again in 21 hours.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Jeremy Kolok, you not only do a bang-up job once again, but you saved the Greg Popovich audio. Great job as always. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Same time tomorrow.
Woo! All right. Enjoy your Monday. Don't forget, and we've posted links. Join us at the CBS Sports website. Play an hour bracket challenge. We will determine what the victor shall receive. We'll come up with something cool. We got some time. We got until Thursday at least to work on it. So we'll do that. Have yourself a great Monday. We will see you mañana. Adios, amigos. Hey, Axel. Sorry about the static. Sorry about the audio problems. And I tried to get rid of the static by toggling the microphones. And sometimes you guys didn't hear Shannon, and that was my fault because I forgot to reactivate her microphone when she spoke over on my end. So we'll try this again tomorrow. Hopefully the static will be gone, and hopefully the mics will be back to normal. So adios, amigos. Carlos Correa, don't go to the Yankees, man, please. I don't want to dislike you, Carlos. In Pop, we trust.